In today's podcast of Data for All, cool data stuff explained.
And cool data apps and devices.
Welcome to the Data for All podcast. I'm Charlie Yielding.
And I'm Charlie Apigian, where we want to empower you to think different with data.
And on today's podcast, we're going to have some fun, offer up some cool data topics, and explain them in a way that I hope makes sense.
And yes, it is the holidays. So our gift to all of you is to explain some cool data stuff. And also, we thought it would be fun just to recommend some of our favorite data apps and data devices.
And to help us out with this today, we're going to welcome back Shauna Sprague.
Yay.
Thanks for joining the podcast again.
Thanks for having me.
And just in case you missed the earlier podcast, which you should totally go back and listen to, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks for that, Charlie. I'm Shauna Sprague, and I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I've spent the better part of 20 years working in retail IT for Fortune 500. And so if you know anything about retail, holidays are big for us, and it's pretty much where the bulk of the money is made. Mm-hmm. So busy time.
Gotcha. But the reason we brought you back, Shauna, is first of all, because obviously that first episode that we had with you went so well, but we were learning some things about you where in your personal life, you do some of that whole data thing, and we're going to have to exploit that here today. Charlie, does that sound about right when we get into the whole holiday spirit?
Yeah, sure.
And the reason I say that is we were talking a little bit beforehand, and when it came to the holidays, Charlie and I were just talking about what we do during the holidays, and Shauna went right to her spreadsheets. Is that
Yes.
correct?
I'm a nerd to the core. Spreadsheets on everybody's gift, budget, where we're going to get it, all that good stuff. So I kind of keep a little spreadsheet going because it takes me a few months to gather all the presents, get them together. And then there's a whole nother spreadsheet for the elf, which is a whole nother story.
Oh, we'll get there. I just want to say that that's neat that we both do shopping the same way too, because I totally buy all the gifts in the same fashion months ahead.
Hold on, I am calling bull. You know what? At this moment, Charlie, I have a feeling. Let's set this up correctly. There's Shauna on one end, so she has the spreadsheet. She's looking for the deals. She's figuring out what everybody has, and then there is Charlie Apigian, and I think I bought a gift once. Mm-hmm. I do think that happened. My wife can back me up on that. Where do you fall within that spectrum?
I may have been exaggerating before. The problem is I don't have any data on it. So we were talking about this a little bit earlier, and I think Shauna found me out because she asked me how many things I thought I bought, and then we'd go ask my wife how many things she thought I bought. And the fact that I immediately didn't want to do that means I probably didn't do nearly as much as what I thought. So I'm going to go ahead and say more than once ever, but probably just a couple.
Gotcha. So the real test is when you're sitting there on Christmas morning, are you the most surprised at what your kids get, or are your kids more surprised?
We'll say I have fun watching everybody open their gifts.
And I definitely do too. And so, of course, I always just care about the important things when it comes to the holiday times. But I'm still intrigued by this whole elf spreadsheet idea. Please help us with that, Shauna.
Yeah, having worked in retail, it's always such a busy time of year. And so I just had to be super organized to get it all done. And so when our elf has specific days that he does fun things. And
all right, so this elf, is this a living elf? Or are we talking the elf on the shelf?
No, this is the elf on the shelf.
Okay.
We have two.
Oh,
yeah.
Two.
Because one is not enough.
One is not enough.
I assume they have different. Different personalities.
They, of course, have different personalities.
Okay.
Oh,
one of them's a little more mischievous than the other.
Okay.
You gotta keep them in line.
Which you track in a spreadsheet.
I keep track of what they do and how they're gonna make a mess, and we try to discourage them from making messes, but they're always in so much trouble.
Okay, and so to be fair, you would say that you're a Christmas person then?
Yeah, I'm pretty into Christmas. It's a whole thing at our house.
Okay. And so what's the point? Like, I'm sure at this point everybody knows what Elf on the Shelf is, but my interpretation of it was you put the elf on the shelf, and then you're basically letting your kid know that that's a snitch, and that elf is going directly to Santa Claus, Is that how you guys played at your house?
Yeah, 100%. The elf is the data collector and reporting back to Santa and letting him know when you have been naughty. Yeah. So.
Oh, please. So, do you have a way to show your daughter the report before it goes out, so to speak?
Yeah, we do. There's an app we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, we have an app that lets us make sure everybody's informed.
And so we should probably let everybody know what we're up to here today. Yeah. So we are giving we're giving gifts back to everyone. And so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to explain things that are data related that many of us just really don't understand that much. And hopefully we can encapsulate what it actually means. And that is, Charlie is going to talk to us about blockchain and NFTs. I'm going to give a little bit of explanation on AI and machine learning. And Shauna today is going to talk about crowdsourcing. And you got to stay for that one because it's amazing when you think about all the different things that we do that have crowdsourcing that's part of it. And then we're going to go into some of our recommendations. Some will be based on apps and then other devices that use data to do different things. So that's basically where we're going today.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like a lot to cover.
It is. And let's get into the first one. Shauna, why don't we let the hard one happen first? And that's what Charlie's going to be here explaining, because I really don't know anything about NFTs. I'm almost embarrassed to say that. I don't know about you.
No, I would agree. I know the term NFT, and I feel like it might be something I'm missing out on, or maybe not. I'm not sure. So please enlighten us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So no pressure.
So you're going to, in just a couple of minutes, tell us everything we need to know about blockchain and NFTs. And then by the end of this, I'm going to be a millionaire because I'm going to be selling NFTs of Charlie, yielding, doing fancy poses. Is that what we're going to be getting into here today?
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
So before we jump into NFT, I think it's important to kind of cover the blockchain and what that is, because NFTs, just like crypto, are built on the blockchain. And a lot of that has to do with digital data credibility and ownership and whatnot. So
wait.
Yep, go ahead.
I'm going to keep saying wait a lot here today when we're talking about this.
Oh, please do.
Crypto is not blockchain. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
Crypto is built in the blockchain, meaning that's how they verify ownership of cryptocurrency, where it's been, how it was mined, all that kind of stuff. But blockchain is a way to manipulate data. So the technical definition is it's blockchain are blocks of information chained together that verify authenticity of digital assets. And so what that means is if I have I don't want to use crypto in a reference to this because there are way more podcasts about crypto than data. There's a lot of people who know a lot about it, and they're typically very vocal. So if I were to say something that was wrong or incorrect, I would be lectured multiple times by multiple people. And we all know a crypto bro when they start talking. So
that is very true. So we're sticking to the data and the technology side of blockchain.
Yeah. So from this perspective, we're going to talk about NFTs, which is the ownership of a digital asset. Okay. And so, let's see. We'll talk about a movie. So we use a movie as an example. So what blockchain is it allows us to purchase something or to own something or to manage something or monitor something in a way that creates a digital ledger. And so you think about it, and the reason they call it blocks is because these ledgers are set up in certain blocks of information. There are specific things that go into the creation and maintenance of that block, how things are added, how things are verified in that block. And then those blocks are chained together through hashes. And so each block generates its own, we'll call it if you've ever seen an encryption key, it's just a bunch of numbers and letters and whatnot. And so each block has its own encryption key, and that's basically a timestamp too, because anytime information is added or changed in that, it changes the encryption key, so to speak, or the hash or whatnot.
Okay. And so like a credit card number, I'm just trying to equate it to a credit card number, is it 16 different digits, and it's separated by dashes. So if I was to think of what a block would look like. Those first 4 could be a block and then another block. Am I doing that right, or am I completely off?
So the best way to think about it is the receipts. So when you use a credit card, think about that as the change in the block, and what's produced by that is a receipt. And so a block is just a compilation of digital receipts.
Gotcha.
And when I say just, I'm not, again, to the crypto bros, I'm sorry. Please don't come at me with this. But it's the accumulation of, like, here's where this data has gone. And if it's a digital movie or whatever that I buy on Disney, which this doesn't exist right now, but it could in the future, then I own that digital copy. It has a like a physical presence, or like a metaphorical physical presence, like the CDs back in the day or the DVDs back in the day. Like, I own something that I can transfer ownership of. Whereas now, if we own a digital piece of software, if we copy it and send it over, then we're breaking intellectual property laws and whatnot, or copyright laws. I can't transfer ownership, and I can't verify where I got it from. So if somebody steals it, then it's just, it's theirs, because I can't prove that it's mine, because there's tons of those out there. And we'll go into a little bit more of that when we get to the NFTs, because fungible in this case is like the description of individuality or uniqueness that you have to create in the digital landscape to be able to say that's mine. Because otherwise it is fungible instead of non-fungible. But we'll come back around to that.
Because fungible is a fun word to say, at least. And so at this point, you're only explaining blockchain.
Yeah, so back to the blockchain piece.
Okay.
So I've bought a movie, and then sets of data are being built up around that. And say I start handing it off to other people, like the block will eventually fill up with information. And then once it's filled up, a new block is created. But it could work different ways in that, like, I transfer ownership, and that creates a new block. I'm not 100% on, like, if everything is the same. It's just what I've seen, the stuff that I've interacted with. This is how it's worked. And so the new block has all the information in its block, and it has a reference back to the old block. Okay. And those are called hashes. And so it's got its current hash, and it's got the hash of the block that it's chained to, and thus, like, the name blockchain. And so you, like, literally just like links in a chain, each block is connected to itself. And then you use, if we're going to talk about crowdsourcing later, you use peer-to-peer groups to validate the proof of work on a particular block. And so essentially, I create a digital receipt, and then I share it with thousands of my buddies. And then if somebody comes in and says, hey, your receipt's wrong, here's my receipt, I'm like, well, what does the rest of the crowd think? And if the rest of the crowd has their information, then it changes over to them. But the rest of the crowd is going to have mine, because you have to go into 1,000 different individuals' hard drives, because these things sit on physical computers, and you have to make those changes. And so the ledger is what's called a distributed model. And the distributed aspect of it makes it nigh unbreakable. Like, you can impact the blockchain, and anybody can go in and make a change on a specific block, but that key or the hash that it spits out changes, and then that's where the peer-to-peer group verification comes in. And it all that to say is, it's a secure way to transfer or to relay digital assets in a way that you can go back and authenticate where it's been. Okay, and so that's important, because if it's just like having a serial number on a physical piece of equipment. Like, if somebody steals your car and then the police find it, apart from the tags and stuff like that, you can go and look at the serial number on it and say, this is in fact the car. And in the blockchain world, the block gives that same kind of credibility through the hashing.
Okay. So Shauna, this is supposed to be light and fluffy today with our holiday spirit, but...
Well, we're getting there. We got to get through this. Okay. We got to trudge through this to get there.
This one's tough one. But what I'm hearing, and you see where you can add to this, is I'm hearing that with blockchain, it can create a unique identifier, and also it can track. And what I heard was receipts, which could be activity, but then that is validated by could be by your peers. Did I get any of that? Shauna, what did you hear?
Well, and that's what I heard as well. And I think that I also kind of just deduced from that you're saying that, if you were going to try to scam somebody out of that, if you've got 1,000 of your peers, you would have to convince all 1,000 people to lie for you. And so the odds of being able to do that are reduced, which makes it more secure. Am I correct in that, Charlie?
Yes, except for the people on the peer network are unknowns. Like you'd have to track down people. Yeah, I mean you have IP addresses and things like that. And if there's, it's different in the crypto world, but in this case, doing that would be extremely difficult to the point to where, from a money perspective, the distributed model is crypto. The single source is the Fed. The way things currently are today with fungible like money and whatnot. But it's harder. Like the way it's been explained to me is it's harder to break and change that than it is to print money, and they make it extremely difficult to print money, and just because it's a physical thing and whatnot.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll assume that we are halfway with you. And today's not a day where I'm playing like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I really have no idea. I'm trying my best. I've played in the crypto world only as an observer, so most of this is new for me. So then, are we at the right place to start talking about NFTs?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I would like to say is anybody who's listening, if you're interested in like an episode on just crypto, or not crypto, but just blockchain, deep dive and all that kind of stuff, email us at charlie@dataforall.io, and we'll make sure to slate that for the future.
Excellent. If we find any, of course, links, there'll be links in the show notes as well.
Yeah. So now to transition to stuff you can buy, since we're, that's what we do during the holidays.
That's right.
Let's talk about NFTs. So NFT stands for non-fungible token, and the thing that I like to say nowadays is WTF is an NFT, because nobody seems to really understand what that is. The reason we had to go through blockchain is because the ownership and the verification of ownership is done through the blockchain. Ethereum right now is I think that's the main exchange for all of this kind of stuff. And so crypto, NFTs, blockchain, they're all kind of together, but it's all like blockchain is the foundation. So you really got to understand the principles of it. And what we've talked about are the principles. But again, deep dive in the future if you guys want. But the fungible piece of non-fungible token, it means whether it can be copied or not, if it's unique or not. So the best way to explain it is something fungible in our society is money. So I can exchange a $10 bill for two $5 bills, and it's the equivalent. It's the same thing, and so they're interchangeable. An NFT, or a non-fungible item, is unique. It can't be changed. The value of this thing is its own value, and it stands apart from everything else. And so it's a way to add value, like, and we'll get into this in just a second, things that would have not otherwise had value because they were digital. And because in the digital world, ownership is really hard to determine sometimes. Whether you screen captured something, it doesn't mean you own it, but that some people will try to mint, and we'll get to that in a second, when it's not appropriate for them. And the concept of infinite copyability is something that we've had to change to in today's modern world, and it really upset a lot of markets. So back in the 90s, if you wanted to go listen to an album, you go to the local CD shop and you'd buy a physical copy and you'd pay $20 for it. Well, why would I pay $20 for a digital copy of something that I can't share with others when you don't put anything into it? Because it's literally just copy and paste to make a new one. And you can put one download link up, and I can download as much as I want, and the only thing you're really paying for is the traffic that you're using. And so NFTs are a way to slap ownership onto a piece of digital media.
Give an example of digital media. So what?
Digital photos. Okay. So my best friend takes pictures of birds, and he's really freaking good at it. Okay. And one of the things I've told him is, like, you need to mint some of those photos. And just to jump into this, minting is the process in which you claim ownership of a digital asset. And so if I took a picture, I can take that picture onto, I think the biggest site is OpenSea. And if I mess that up again, please don't judge me too harshly.
We'll judge you harshly.
But you take it to them, you mint it, and when you mint it, you've created that thing in the world of NFTs, because it's now attached to the blockchain in a way where you can track ownership of that. And so if I want to create it and then I put it onto a marketplace, again, OpenSea's got a marketplace, and then I sell it to somebody, they own a digital picture that I took just like I made a physical picture. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so if you tear up that physical copy, it's gone. But on the NFT side, it's still data that exists out in the internet. But from an ownership perspective, you can say it's mine. So you still can't stop people from copying things and stuff like that. But it is a way to make sure that, like, if somebody uses your picture in a commercial, that you can say that's mine. Don't do that.
Okay.
And here's proof. So digital images. I want to get to like more stuff that are attached to NFTs in just a little bit, because it's getting crazy out there.
Okay, so get crazy for a second. I know we're not going to spend our entire time talking about NFTs, but is there? I keep hearing about how NFTs are going for crazy money.
Oh yeah.
Is there situations? Is there any examples out there of where things have gone for a couple of dollars?
Did you see this in the notes at all?
Well, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, so I wanted to make sure, because I wanted you to guess if you hadn't seen it.
Oh, I got you.
But for those out in the audience, what do you think the most expensive NFT to date is?
And don't worry, we'll wait for you folks.
Well, you can. I was going to say they could pause it.
Well, you can ask Shauna.
Did you see it in the notes?
I did not see it in the notes.
Okay. Well, okay, Shauna. Perfect. I knew there was a reason we
Yes,
brought you back.
that's why you brought me.
So, what do you think? What do you think the most expensive NFT to date is?
I feel like it has to be some celebrity or something that, yeah.
Just guess
for
how
money.
Guess how much it was.
Oh, how much?
Yeah.
$1 billion.
Whoa.
Oh God.
You thought the number was high, and then she comes with $1 billion.
Yeah, billion.
$1 billion.
In my world, numbers are big.
That's right.
Oh, that's true. So the highest value of an NFT to date, and this is where NFTs are polarizing, because they're, art's art, and when it gets crazy, people are just like, why does this exist, and all this other kind of stuff. But it was a guy named Beeple who was doing an NFT a day. He put this one together. It's called The First 5,000 Days, and it went for $69.3 million.
Well, that still sounds like a lot to me. So Beeple sold one. So he sold what? Is it a file, a photo?
He sold a file.
He sold a file.
He sold the file, but the ownership of that file, the minting of that file, is tracked. And so when he sold it, he's actually selling ownership of it. And so if he wants to display, or I say I don't actually know who bought it. But if they want to display that in an open way, they can, because they own it.
Gotcha. And if anybody else did,
they could come after them.
They could come after
them.
Yeah,
because it's equivalent to somebody being able to copy the Mona Lisa and hang it up in their gallery, versus just you being able to. And so if you wanted to go in there and take care of business, you could, because you have digital rights and ownership over that.
Would it be fair to say that in the future we might see NFT like studios for arts and things like that, where we have authentication that we have the only copy of the NFT Mona Lisa or equivalent?
I think that's going to be hard unless, so here's what would have to happen. You'd have to be able to create digital art in a way that's closed off from the internet. The second it gets on the internet, or the second it's displayed on the internet, that is the product, and so somebody could yoink it. And so you would have to do it in a closed environment, and you would have to have a camera-free closed gallery. And then that's about the only way you'd get to see unique digital art for the very first time, which I'm sure in niche situations will totally go over well, because if somebody's paying $69 million for an NFT, they would pay a premium fee just to see, like, I'm the only person who's set eyes on this digital media.
Yeah. So, we don't know really why people are, I don't understand why people are doing it today, but there has to be a reason, because in the future, NFTs can be something. What is the future of NFTs? Well,
that's where a lot of the speculation is coming in, because these prices are high because these are seen as some of the very first NFT works. And so the first 5,000 days it's a statement that, like, we've started NFTs. This is the first big wave, the past few years has been the first big wave of NFTs. It's notoriety. It's, all the things that come with the world of art and creativity and whatnot. It's like, is it worth it? I don't know, but I'm speculating on the future, because if it does turn out to be the way that we do things in the future, and you can go all the way back to the beginning and say, like, look at what I got, then you're you're going to be sitting pretty from an investment perspective. That's why, like Jack Dempsey or whatever the CEO guy's name is from Twitter, he minted his very first tweet, which just like, I'm just setting up my Twitter thing. You can look it up online for $2.9 million.
Oh, wow. I mean, I could sell my tweets. My first one was, I'm going to eat a sandwich. Because remember, it used to be like you'd be posting things about what you were doing at that moment. And so I was going to eat a sandwich. That was my first tweet. So you could mint that and at some point sell it. I think it's worth more than $2.9 million.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it will be.
Absolutely. So I could see things like if the metaverse becomes a thing, this is something where maybe art or things inside the metaverse might be. Are we going off? Or
do you guys know what the metaverse land grab is?
What's that?
Have you heard of it?
I've heard. Please elaborate.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to go for it?
Yeah, go for it. I was going to say, I've heard little inklings.
So there are, when you think about digital land and VR, you don't really think about location. In the real world, it's all location, location, location. But if you're trying to be impactful in the metaverse, how do you do that? Well, if you have a house next to Kanye West, then you're in good shape. And so some people have just chosen places in the metaverse that they're going to live, and you can create an NFT out of a piece of property in the metaverse and then sell that to somebody. And its value, again, is speculative, which is what pisses a lot of people off too, in that, am I going to become famous if I'm next to a famous person in the metaverse? Or if I'm in the hub of like the most densely, it's like being in the city. If I'm in the most densely populated area, my value or my property value is going to go up. And so some people are buying these NFTs in order to flip them in the future, but some of them are buying, because it's the land grab is just like, it was like, here you go. And then everybody jumps in, they start buying stuff up. Wow. But in the beginning, you're just buying up whatever, hoping that you got a good piece. And then once you find out that, oh, such and such is over there, then you're like, okay, well, what do I have from a value perspective? Can I trade 3 plots for one, or can I buy this one or whatnot? And that's to say that it's pissing a lot of people off is an understatement. But that's because they typically don't understand where all of this stuff is going. Because if VR continues to grow, like those locations could be financially viable, not just because of the resale value, but because of the personal promotion perspective of it. So if I'm an influencer, on the up and coming like lists or whatever, if I get next to somebody who can, retweet me or something like that, then it would be totally worth it. And so with our digital lives taking up more and more real estate in our success, like it makes sense, especially with things like transitioning to VR. In the future. We're not quite there yet because there's not the product diversity that we need, but we're getting there.
Okay, so whether it be crypto, NFT, or blockchain, I'm seeing all that kind of going into this whole metaverse thing at some point, which we're going to have to probably, let's save that for another podcast and keep moving along. And so we have 2 more gifts that we want to give in terms of Data Explained. Do we go crowdsourcing or machine learning? We want to go the harder one and go to one that's more fun to talk about. Anything that Shauna talks about is going to be more fun than us, of course, Charlie. So should we get the fun stuff that I love to talk about, and we'll see if I can explain it in a way that sounds good. What do you think here?
Yeah, I think you should go for it because everybody's got like I'm not going to say they're confused, but it's just like, do I know what I'm supposed to know about AI and machine learning? What's the difference? Aren't they the same thing? Or,
sure.
What is it?
Okay. And I love to take hard concepts and make it as simple as possible. So I'm going to give some generalities on my definitions of AI and machine learning. So I'm going to break out both of them and just in the beginning say that artificial intelligence is a word that's overused. But it is a big umbrella. It really is just the use of machines to think and do work and react like humans. That's it. That's all it is. It's just the use of machines to do that. So it doesn't have to be machine learning, even though machine learning is artificial intelligence. So Charlie's looking at me with a big smile. So I have to ask what he's
all it is everything.
All it is everything. That's right. Yeah. But it's everything that a machine can do for us. So it's basically replicating what humans can do. That's the whole point.
So supercomputers?
Supercomputers would definitely be something, but it can even just be as simple as an if-then statement, like a chatbot. You think about like a chatbot. When you go on a website and it says, what would you like to know today? There might be some machine learning going behind it, but it's probably just this person said invoice, therefore now I'm going to take them to this spot. So it includes that, but then it also includes the ability to learn from data to continue to do tasks or make decisions. And so that's really where machine learning comes in. So machine learning isn't that it's going to know specifically an if-then type of statement, but instead it's taking data and it is creating a program or an algorithm to be able to make a prediction on something, but it really doesn't know how or why. It's just based on past history. Can we use it to make a future decision? And then over time, the more data that we collect, hopefully the better the decision gets. So if I think a great example would be self-driving cars. And if you think about self-driving cars, it is using machine learning to be able to decide whether to turn left or to turn right. It's actually called reinforcement learning. And reinforcement learning is, I love to explain it as a parent would. And Shauna, if you think about this, if your child keeps reaching for the snacks on the counter, and they're not supposed to, what would you do in that case?
I'd probably move the snacks out of their reach.
Okay, but make it where they knew they were not supposed to do it.
Right, and I'd let them know no.
See, she's too nice. But the point is, reinforcement learning is you identify every option that you can make, and then you decide which one is appropriate based on what you think the circumstances would be. So if I turn left right now, will I hit anybody? If I do it now, what if I do it now? And so it continually looks at that, and then it needs data from the past to be able to make better decisions. It's kind of why Tesla makes things beta so early. It's not because they want to give you those cool gadgets or those cool new things in its car. It wants to collect data to make it better. Yeah. And so machine learning based on past history to help you make better decisions, like the price of a home or whether you should get a loan or not get a loan. All are things that are based on previous data to make those decisions. So machine learning, again, is the use of computers or algorithms to take over a task that humans do, right? Because in the past, why would a house be worth $200,000? Well, somebody just said, well, $100 a square foot, right? And they kind of went with that, but now we use algorithms to do that, and we use Zillow. Zillow is using machine learning to come up with their Zestimate. I think that's what they call it. Their Zesty Zestimate. And so really that's all it comes to. But AI is the broader picture. So that's why every company says they're an AI company. Why? Well, because I'm using data to hopefully replicate something that a human does. Shauna, is there any company that can say they're not an AI company when you think of the term? It's almost like saying you're not a data company, right?
No.
I know that there's a couple of companies you may have worked for in the past that definitely embrace AI. And is that the definition? What do they consider when they say AI?
It's a big misconception too, because I feel like, coming from when you're in the projects sector of things, people will say, well, can't we just put AI on? Can't we just turn it on?
It's just it's an ingredient.
You just throw it on, flip that switch and fix the problem. And, it's definitely not that simple. And so I always like to explain to people, it's only a process that we're having a computer execute. So without clearly defined rules and processes, like AI and machine learning are not possible.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and you do get that a lot. I get it all the time where people are like, well, if we just use some AI, the world will be better.
They'll fix everything.
And because machines are better than humans, but humans are the ones that program the machines. And so you go through that perpetual cycle of what that is. But really that's where it comes in. Now, I could go into the different types of machine learning and things like that. I don't know if that's really for today, but...
So I'd like to ask a question in the sense of I don't really know I still don't know what machine learning is.
Okay. Let's go through an example.
So I've got a computer.
Okay.
And then I've got a task that needs to be done.
Sure.
And so I hire the AI and then I machine train it, or how does that all work?
Well, you want to make a decision. And so I'm going to go with the predicting the price of a home, because that's something hopefully we all can kind of think about. And so I want to make that decision. And so if I choose not to use anything except gut, and we've talked about the difference between using your gut and using data, then I'm just going to come up with a random guess.
Sure.
But instead, what if I went and pulled all of the data from my area for the last 10 years of all the homes that have sold, and I knew the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, all the different things, and I put it into my computer, and then I was to use machine learning. So I'm using past data and then creating, we normally like to call it an algorithm, but it's an equation. It's a mathematical formula that is based on past data. So it has to have data to be able to be machine learning.
Sure.
Then we are figuring out what our current situation is and using that algorithm to help predict what we're looking for. So we, based on past history, let's say we have 10 years of historical data about homes, we come up with a model. Then we use that model to predict the price of our home. I tell it how many bedrooms I have, how many bathrooms, how many square feet, all of the different components, and it spits out a number, $285,000.
Okay.
And that's the use of machine learning to be able to make a prediction.
Okay. And so when do you start calling it AI?
It is AI, because AI is the overall blanket that includes machine learning and includes several other things as well. Like I said, like a chatbot, anything. So machine learning is one subset of AI that, again, AI is anything that tries to replicate what a human would do.
Okay.
And so the use of data to make a prediction is one of those ways. Another way is, again, kind of like the if-then type of statements out there. There's also, we can get into like deep learning, which is neural networks and all that kind of stuff. Or even just, I think an easy one, like in terms of images, is there a piece of broccoli in a picture or not? Like, why'd I go broccoli? Isn't that, of all the things, I was thinking I didn't want to go dirty or anything like that. So broccoli was a safe bet. So, but if you had 1,000 pictures and you needed to find pictures of broccoli, and you could create a little program, and that would be more AI type related, because it's replacing the human that would have to look through all 1,000 pictures.
Okay. So I want to, just to wrap my head around it. So you drive a Tesla. We talked about fancy cars before. So a part of the autonomous driving is Tesla using cameras that are built into the car to recognize obstacles, objects, and things like that. So if, in the beginning it's just cameras and the machine didn't really have a good way to identify the world around it. And so you start taking pictures, or it identifies stop signs as objects. And then you write a piece of code that says, if this is a stop sign, do this or do that. And then that's the machine learning, or that's training the machine to do better? Yeah,
and it's probably a hybrid approach, because in some cases, if the light's red, you stop. There is no learning that really needs to happen with that. But when you have now traffic, when the light turns green, what you do next is going to be dependent on everything that's out there. Every car, every pedestrian, everything else. And if a pedestrian is moving toward your car at 2 miles an hour and you're ready to take off, what should you do? There are times when I'm on the road where the vehicle next to me comes over into my lane just a little bit, and my car slams on the brakes. And it's like, whoa, what? But that's its reaction at this point, based on the data that it's produced, is anything that comes into your lane, just take a step back, which is dangerous because the car behind me is way too close.
Yeah.
So you run into little things like that. So there are things that are going to be yeses and nos, and then there could be. So it's definitely an AI model that uses machine learning as part of the decision-making process in that case.
All right, that makes sense to me then. But so every night when the data's uploaded, that's then used to either enforce or create new objects or relationships between other things, to make it to where when somebody comes into your lane in the future, it doesn't immediately slam on the brakes, but it checks to the right and sees if there's room to scoot over while maintaining speed and all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and the car continues to get better, and that's part of the machine learning part, where in the past, it did not stop at stoplights unless a car was in front of me. Now it does, and so it's added that because it got good enough. So, and in machine learning, the whole part of that is not only do you get a prediction, but you get a kind of a percentage of how good you did. And when you get to a certain level, now you're at that part where it feels comfortable to deploy it into the car. Shauna, is there things that you know of? I know that you worked in where there's cool robots and things like that.
Yes.
Robots are the perfect example of AI because they might just do one thing over and over again, or they might be intelligent. So what are some of the things you've seen?
Probably the most notable recently were the last mile drones that,
cool.
actually know where to go. The last mile in retail is the most expensive one. It's really inexpensive to drop things off in Nashville, but you go out in small town Oklahoma and, drive 15 miles out of the way to drop off a pack of socks. You lose money on that deal. So having drone delivery and using AI to, they're actually pulling in data from, traffic to also weather. They're looking at, making sure there's other drones in the area aren't going to, interfere with each other. So they're pulling in lots of data points to make sure that they get to your house in a safe manner. And then when they get lower to the ground, they're looking for people as well and making sure, we don't want to hurt anyone. So we want to be able to drop the package at your door or pretty darn close.
All right. So how close are we to having, let's say, a majority of our packages dropped off by drones or robots?
You're quite a ways away, really.
Okay.
I feel like that, it's going to be more of a municipality. So there's lots of laws around where a drone can fly. And so it's being test piloted in a couple of cities at the moment. So you can read about this lots on Google. But yeah, there's lots of companies out there working on trying to solve this issue, which has been a retail issue for years and years.
It sounds like if we're ever going to have flying cars, that you guys might be paving the way.
There will never be flying cars. It is actually, from a physics perspective, impossible. Okay. I learned that from our good friend Neil Tyson deGrasse on his podcast, actually. Okay. And it was really eye-opening because the propulsion to produce a car up into the air is so forceful that it would always ruin our hair. I'll just say that on a given day. So it's probably not going to happen. But drones are different when you're talking about 100 pounds versus thousands of pounds.
Right. Yeah. And so stuff like that. And so we have like a little, you've got your personal drones, and so all that good stuff. But
wait. What are you talking about? You've got your personal drones?
Those little drones you buy.
Oh, like we have.
No, not me personally.
Oh, for a second there, I was imagining every Amazon employee is just like, I got to drop this off at Jack's desk. And it was just like,
no, nothing that fancy. Nothing that fancy. I have no knowledge of anything. So.
No, they just have telepathy over there, and they have other things. But and getting into the whole idea of traffic and things like that, why don't we get into our third? Do I have any other questions on the ML? And it's definitely something we're going to get into over time. But we thought this was an easy nugget to give people here at the holiday season.
I think that I understand the lines a lot better than I did before. So
yeah, AI is not just machine learning, and I think that's where people always equate the two. But and people will always hear, well, machine learning is part of AI. Well, now hopefully it makes a little bit more sense. Just think of AI as your way of machines replicating what a human does. And if you make it intelligent based on previous data, you're probably using machine learning to do that.
Yep.
In a lot of cases, something as complex as a car will be using multiple versions of algorithms and techniques to be able to try to replicate what we do, which is distracted driving, pretty much in most of those cases. So in terms of distracted driving, or in terms of driving in general, we were talking about different ways we navigate through the area. And Shauna, you mentioned crowdsourcing and thought that'd be a good thing. So when I say crowdsourcing, Shauna, what do we mean by that?
What we mean by crowdsourcing is large amounts of people like feeding data into a single source. Okay. And so essentially, a lot of people get confused as to why Waze sometimes is the best example I can come up with. If you have the Waze app, it'll tell you, the traffic is really congested here, or, route you around that. So as Waze is a unique example because you are both feeding the machine as well as a consumer of the machine data. And so you are pulling that down. And so whereas your GPS in your car has a built-in map system, it's basically old school maps, digital, and it says, okay, here's how you get from point A to point B. And I know about the speed limits, so I can figure out how long and it's going to take you to get there. But it doesn't know traffic, right? It doesn't know there was an accident on the road it's going to send you on. And so I think we've all been in those situations where you end up and you're like, oh, I made a bad decision. Like I should have went a different way. This is going to take me a while. And so what Waze does using the data, so as you're driving, it's feeding that data up to the satellite and it's also feeding back down to all the users. And so they can tell based on how fast you're going, how the speed's going to be. They can tell that traffic's starting to slow down, probably during rush hour. We've got people congesting a particular area. You might want to go around that. And so Waze allows you through crowdsourcing, through that data to give you that instant feedback of there's a police here or there's a pothole there. Yeah. And so it does rely on users giving that information as well. And I know, Charlie, you've known people that said they would actually go out of their way to make sure to mark every pothole and everything. I truly appreciate those people.
That's right. And definitely tell me what the problem is ahead of me.
Yes, what is the problem coming up? Is there a car coming up? And so I depend on it, every day, especially with after COVID. I feel like that our traffic pattern is not as predictable as it used to be. People aren't going in 8 to 5, so it's not as exact of a window. And so I rarely go anywhere without at least pulling it up on Waze, taking a look. Is there any accidents I need to get around?
Okay.
That kind of thing.
So in the early days of the traffic thing, I have a friend actually that worked at the company that did this. There was a company that literally had meters out on the side of roads that would tell you how fast traffic was going. And if it didn't have one of those meters or radars, then you weren't going to find out if there was traffic or not on that road. And this goes back, to the early days of navigation. And then now what you're saying is the way that we know if people are only going 30 miles an hour in a 65 mile an hour zone is because of crowdsourcing.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So, we can use that data to, and you're starting to see it a little bit too in your, personal home devices, instead of saying where do I park? Where's the best place to park in Nashville? So you can send that information out to the masses and somebody who's a local says, oh, well, this is the best garage. Don't even try to park over there.
Oh, there you go.
So you're seeing it a little bit in the home devices on those types of suggestions.
Well, so even review type sites would be crowdsourcing, but Waze is dynamic in terms of its, where if I go onto Yelp to look at restaurants, that's more of a static crowdsourcing version where we're now to the point where you're literally finding out what's happening at that moment.
Right. It's so in theory you should be caught with less off guard, but we always get caught a little bit. Go ahead.
I just never thought about that before. It is similar, but that differentiation, I can only imagine what it would be like if you had a Waze for restaurants and you could actually get a poll of how things were going at that moment. Well, is it busy right now? Google does some of that. It's here's where it peaks and here's where we expect it to be at. But just to get the food tonight is a little bit off or something like that. That feels ultra intrusive, but also really, really life saving at the same time.
Or this is the best server. Or,
ask for Bob when you come in.
Ask for Bob.
Yeah. Or do not ask for the person I had last night when I went out. And I was mentioning beforehand how I had a bad experience last night, and the place was just overwhelmed. A couple of people that were working there were not in a happy mood. I heard there were 2 times where glasses broke because somebody dropped it, because somebody ran. I mean, it was just that's what happens when it's Saturday night and you're watching football and all of that. So I do get that, but I could have warned a lot of people to go to the next place on that given night. So Charlie, what's your app of choice when you go places?
I typically use Maps. I had this idea to
Apple Maps, Google Maps.
Oh, Google Maps.
Google Maps. Okay.
No.
No. As an Apple guy, I stay away from it.
My bad.
Too.
No, you're right because it is just Maps.
That's right.
So I use Google Maps.
Okay.
And back before the pandemic and whatnot, I was planning on writing a pamphlet or a book or whatever on how to drive in the city. And what I was doing is I was capturing my commutes like I would go the same day most day, or the same direction most days, and I was capturing information about the commute, and then I was pulling all that stuff from Google. I probably could have done it with Waze, but I just started with Google because it was already there, and I was like, I wonder if I can look at my historical drives, and I could.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty neat, but the long and short of that though is like just give people space and try to go as consistent a pace as possible.
Yeah. Do you get down to, like with using Google Maps, if it says don't get on the highway and do these 8 different detours, do you do the detours or do you jump on the highway?
So I'll go with it. If there is traffic, I just go by Google, because Google and Waze are the same in that kind of capacity in that they'll use crowdsourced information, but there are way more people in Waze that will do the extra stuff. So I see speed traps and stuff like that in Google, but that's partially because Google's getting some of their information from Waze.
Well, Waze is owned by Google.
No, I actually did not.
Yeah, they bought them. See,
well, then that would explain it.
Waze was an Israeli company that I want to say like 5 years ago was actually bought by Google, and I'm shocked that they did not turn into one app. But I keep noticing Waze-like things in Google Maps over time.
If I had to guess, it would be because the type of Waze user would not switch to Google Maps if you rebranded it,
and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shauna, what do you use?
Waze pretty much exclusively. Yeah.
So I stopped using Waze for 2 reasons. First, it was compulsive, and I wanted to tell you every time I saw a pothole or something like that. And so I was just hitting my screen the whole time, and I wanted to get away from that. Mm-hmm. And then second, it kept detouring me into neighborhoods. That I don't like. Mm. And same thing with you?
Yeah. A lot of times when I'm using the Waze, I'm actually going somewhere where I know I'm going. I'm just looking at traffic and where it's going to go. Yeah. So I will disagree with it and be like, I'm not going to take that road.
Yeah. There's a certain section of 65 North going around downtown that I know how to navigate appropriately. And so its average time spent there is not the time that I'm going to spend there, because I know to be in this lane or to get in this lane immediately after the on-ramp and the traffic kind of opens back up, and then stay in that around the curve, and then when to get over, when not to get over. And so we talked about trusting our guts in the past. Like I trust my gut in certain sections of the highway, but it's the only time I've ever been routed through a neighborhood was when 65 was closed.
Well, I feel like a lot of times when I'm in areas, and I also will disagree with my mapping feature, and I usually stick with Tesla, since I do have the basic version of Tesla vehicle.
Car.
Yeah, fancy car. But it works, I notice, about the same as Google Maps, so I bet you they're sharing a little bit of the same information. But where I disagree is when I know it's routing me away, where I have to take a left onto a road that I just don't want to do.
Yeah.
I might sit there for 15 minutes or however long. I mean, where I actually noticed how bad the traffic was, this was a couple of days ago, and it said to reroute this one weird way, and I got on Google Maps as well to see if and it had me do the exact same thing. I'm like, all right, well, Google Maps and my car is telling me the same thing. I go to do that. I get stopped at a railroad crossing. 25 minutes.
Yay.
And there's no way to get around, and at that point you are stuck, and my poor wife heard it from me. I'm like, I just kept saying, and I'm still waiting, and I'm still waiting, and I'm still waiting. And she got that for 25 minutes. It was text messages. At least I wasn't talking. So all really interesting aspects of it. And I think the crowdsourcing part has added an element that is really important to people, which is, okay, I do see that that's a dark red line that I'm getting ready to go into. Why? And Waze, in this case, you can say, oh, looks like there's construction or there's an accident or whichever. And that's really something that we all crave.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So we have given everybody our 3 gifts for today, which is the explanation of NFTs. Charlie keeps shaking his head every time I get into the Christmas spirit over here.
Yeah.
Or the holiday spirit, I should say. Which is just fine, but I'm not done with my holiday spirit. I want to go into what is the most fun for me, and that is any app or any device that uses data. And I think that is the coolest thing. So what I think we're going to do is we're all going to have at least one of each of these that we'll go through. See, I kept trying to make this a big game, and everybody's like, Charlie, stop it. You're being too silly. But I still think there's going to be a winner at the end of today with the best app or the best device. So Why don't, how should we do this, folks? Should we each give our top app recommendation, or do we want to go through a couple of them? Sean, our guests should decide. What do you think, Shauna? Should we go through with one at a time, or what should we do here with apps and devices?
Let's each give a couple, and then we'll go from there and see.
Okay, so should we start with our guest?
Sure.
And so we all, of course, wrote down a couple.
Yeah. So let's save her stuff for last, because I feel like it's actually the most bang for your buck. And if we're having an actual competition, like, I know who I'm voting for already because I've seen the notes. So let me go first, because I'm the most underwhelming on this, and then she can go last.
Well, I'm glad you're selling it that way, because then I know I don't have to feel like what you give as a recommendation is the better one.
Oh no! It's just between you guys at this point, because we've talked about it before. Like I like Whoop. I don't use it yet because it's got a subscription tied to it, but I like what it does and the amount of clarity it can present to you. It's a crossover because it's a physical band you wear that captures biometric information. But there's an app and like a lot of feedback you get, because the more data you put into it, the more you can see like what is and is not going on.
And Whoop is spelled WHOOP. I'm Googling at the same time here, so I'm trying to see it. It's an app. Is it a physical device as well?
Yeah, you wear something on your wrist, but it looks more like a bracelet with a little box on one side.
Okay.
And to charge it, you actually connect something to the back of it. So in theory, you never have to take it off. And it'll capture sleep. It'll capture all the standard biometric information all the time. But then when you when you use the app as well, then you're putting in like, I drank this much water, I ate this much food at these times, and it'll start to draw the correlations of, okay, well, you shouldn't be doing this at this time because it affects your sleep in this way. And here's the cold hard data you've been looking at, and so now make some changes. And I don't know if that sounded like it came from personal experience, but it may have.
Yeah, and probably with Whoop, again, that's good machine learning right there, right? It's using past data, your data, or other people's. It's probably doing some crowdsourcing.
Probably.
And because of all of that, it's able to give you the best prediction. So predictions based on other people's experiences, as well as predictions based on your experience, sounds like what's kind of encapsulating something like Whoop.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Well, I kind of like that one, other than I don't like the first part you said, which is the subscription part.
Yeah.
And I'm looking to spend money during the holiday season, but I don't know if I'm willing to spend money every month, but I might have to take a look at it.
Yeah. I just haven't decided whether it's worth it yet or not.
Okay.
Because in the fitness and nutrition world, there's a lot of high charges.
Yeah,
that's the best way I can put it. Like, just some gyms, they charge you a lot of money to go and do their thing, and then some apps do the same thing, but then some e-bikes do the same thing, and all that kind of stuff. And so it can get really expensive really fast. And if I'm already doing subscriptions for my media, I don't know if I need a personal fitness and well-being subscription. We'll see, though.
So you feel you should have a subscription for meaningless news and information, but for your own personal well-being, it's not worth a subscription? Is that basically what you just said, Charlie?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, it is. When you put it like that, I maybe need to reevaluate my priorities when it comes to what I subscribe to.
All right. Well, since you said that Shauna should go last in this one, I'll go with my first one. And we kind of hinted the last time you were on, Shauna, about this one, and it's how I journal. And I journal through pictures. So way back when, this is I think when it first came out, there was an app called Day One. And it was an app that it's on your phone. That you can use to journal. And so I tried to do that. I tried to just do the journaling part, and I do it still to this day a little bit here or there. But it at one point added a feature where you could add pictures. And it went from just being a journaling, writing type of app to you can add voice memos, you can add pictures, video, if you get their premium subscription. So I did that. So I am paying the yearly cost, which is not a lot. And again, anything that we make recommendations for, we'll put links in the show notes here. But I pretty much go through maybe like 2 or 3 weeks worth. I look at all my pictures, and anything that I cherish, I put in there. So it's, I know some people do it on Facebook, some people do it with Instagram. The only person I care about seeing my pictures is myself and my family, of course. And so in day one, that's how I journal. So I'll put 2 or 3 pictures. For example, I just did a run last weekend on some beautiful mountains in Georgia. So I put a couple of pictures up and just said some things about it. And my buddy ran 100 miles during that time, which was unbelievable. But that was the way I captured. I didn't blog about it, journal about it. I put a couple of pictures up and said, Dalton, Georgia, incredible trail run. And so I've been using that. Now I've been using that for at least 5, 7, maybe 5 to 7 years. And so now on this given day is part of that. So you can go back and see what you've put on different days. So that's my way. And so that would be my gift to all of you. If you like seeing your stuff, especially your pictures, or if you do like the idea of journaling in an easy way, to me, day one is that app.
Yeah, you've mentioned this before, and I feel like he's about to convert me to.
Oh, it's worth it
to doing this, because it feels like it satisfies a lot of things. And so I've got lists of like memories that I want to keep. And a part of that is like stuff with the kids. And so I'll write down, this sweet thing or that sweet thing, like how we used to go, our pre-nighttime closing the shades ritual and turn off the lights and telling everything good night. Because my daughter would just be like, good night window, good night door, all that kind of stuff. And then, I want to remember that. And if I have the picture to go along with it, then I can visualize and like kind of recall at the same time. But it also fits with our modern day idea of presenting ourselves on the internet. And so you can, it's like you're doing the same thing. It's the same practice. And so you're captioning a picture to retain the most amount of information as possible, or whatever pertinent information. And a social media post is the same thing.
It is, except I don't want people to see
this.
In this case, this is my personal diary. Now, if you do like, writing things daily, they can have questions come up, question of the day, and it could just be, what's your favorite movie of all time? And you could add that. I've in the past, when I tried to become a writer or a journaler, I would have my own prompts every day. And so, what about yesterday did you cherish the most? What was most productive? What was this? And I just didn't keep with it. But for 7 or so years, I've kept with the photo part. So that's for me is what works. That's what I cherish. And so that's what I use it for. So it allows you. And the other part that I like is it does geotag the pictures. So I can go in there and see things. I can go click on a picture when I was in Detroit, Michigan, and see what that event was. And so to me, that memory lane thing, as the gray continues to come on the top of my head here, is really important.
That's cool.
Yeah. So should we get more in the holiday spirit?
Yes.
All right. So Shauna, give us your first one.
Yes. My first one, it's called Portable North Pole. So PNP Santa app. Okay. And what it does is you can actually put into there, you can, put pictures of your child, and it's a way for you to communicate with Santa, and he makes customized videos for your child. So you can say, were they good or bad? Like you can put in there even the picture of the present that they have asked for Christmas. And so, and then Santa will make them videos. They'll make a birthday video if you want, or there's a whole selection of different types of videos, and they are really impressive. And so very well received at our home. Lots of excitement around the PNP Santa app.
So it went from Santa knows everything all the time to now we're helping Santa out.
We are giving Santa data.
Okay.
Wow. And you mentioned even like happy birthday time. So it could be all year that Santa's watching you, and that could be a great parenting device as well.
Yeah, sometimes when you have family pictures, you need the PNP app to encourage cooperative behavior.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know if my immediate family with my kids and whatnot, if we have a standard picture where we're all smiling and looking straight at the camera. We usually just try half an hour, give up. Yeah. And just kind of take the best one.
There you go. Well, I think that's a great one. Why don't we quickly go through a second one so we can get to devices as well? Charlie, if you were to give a second recommendation on an app.
So I like, I grew up not good with money. Okay. And, and as things transition from banks to digital, like digital stuff like PayPal, and now we got Cash App and all that other kind of stuff. Like, I needed to consolidate all of my financial stuff. This sounds like a commercial, but in doing so, like, I started using Mint. And so Mint for me is an application I highly recommend if you need help with keeping up with all of your stuff, because it'll pre-build budgets. It'll let you know how your spending's going. It'll tell you things about your financial habits, because again, I can really lay it on thick sometimes when I want to buy something, but then I usually can go to Mint and see how my behavior's been in like one picture, so it consolidates it for me. So if I'm just looking at my bank account and then I look at my credit card thing separately, I'm just like, okay, so I'm doing some mental gymnastics there. But if it's all in one pane for me, then I'm just like, okay, fine. But I also get to see net value and all of those kind of numbers that I never really thought about growing up. Like, I get to see in one kind of panel right now, and it's pretty neat.
And is everything automated where all of your accounts are connected to that? So you just go in and hit refresh, or go in and automatically refreshes? Right.
That's the hard part about it, is setting it up, because you have to know all your logins, and which means a bunch of password resets. And I haven't logged in here for a while. Once you give the permissions, you get everything set up, then it's fine from there. But it does update real time, because Mint has APIs set up with all the digital side of the financial market, I guess is what you call it.
So it's like your own personal dashboard of your financial health.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Mint is now owned by Intuit,
yep.
Which is also like TurboTax, and what's the other thing that Intuit does?
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks, there you go. So it's all part of that same ecosystem there. Shauna, do you use anything to consolidate your view of your finances?
Mostly just QuickBooks, for like little side businesses and stuff. Of course, I'm a spreadsheet girl, have a lot of spreadsheets.
QuickBooks is good.
We do use TurboTax to do the taxes and stuff.
Gotcha. And I've done the same thing, but have given that off to somebody else, because time equals money, and I don't have either of those, but I value my time a lot. And then I use actually one called You Need a Budget, YNAB, and I really like it. It forces you into, you have this money, and that's what you're allowed to spend. And it doesn't, project out what you don't have. If that's what you got in the bank, that's what you're allowed to use as part of your budget, and it makes it easier. Now, it's something you can't use when you don't have money. And so early on in my days, when I had 4 kids and one income, I maybe wouldn't have liked YNAB as much, but these days it's a lot easier for me to use. So I think that's a really good one. If I was to give a second one, I would probably go with Carrot Weather. And I love this app for a lot of reasons. But if you don't have it, I know it's an Apple one. I'm not sure if it's on Android, but it's beautiful. It's snarky, and I mean snarky as in that's actually a setting, is you can set it to snark mode, and it will say mean things to you. It's like, it'll say things like, and you're welcome for the sun that's about ready to come out today, little things like that. But it also gives you 7 different weather sources that you can select from. So you pick which source you want, and you can make it look any way you want, and the notifications can be anything that you'd like. And if you get their premium stuff, you get the lightning part, or when it's going to rain. And it's pretty accurate. It'll say, I'll get a notification on my watch, and it'll say, it's going to rain in 7 minutes. I mean, it literally will say that. And usually, because I have it on snark mode, it'll say something else about me that's not very nice. But it's cute and adorable, and but most importantly, really accurate. And then if you pick one data source for the weather, you can get the 14-day forecast. When you get another one, it might be better locally, but it's only maybe as good for 7 days. So I think Foreca, Foreca, is the one that I have found to be the best data source for Carrot. But for me, that's what I live by when it comes to weather. And you all use the default weather apps, or
I use the My Radar. So,
do you?
Yeah, I just like I like to visualize.
Is it My Radar Scope? Is that?
Yeah, My Radar. And so I just like the visual of being able to see on a map, because sometimes, 20% chance of rain, you either get rained on or not.
That's
and
true.
so I want to look at it on a map, especially if I'm going to go outside and go for a run or something. I want to make sure that I'm not going to get halfway through and just poured.
So I use the method of friendship because I've got two buddies that they would be into the conversation you were just talking about the different sources of weather and stuff like that. They would jump on that conversation in a heartbeat. And they're like, hey, the barometric pressure just dropped by 20% in your area. You better get ready for stuff. And they'll send me those messages proactively, so I literally never have to do it. It's like having friends that love planning vacations. They just take care of it for me.
And you realize there are people that ask me what the weather is going to be like, and now I realize why, because they're the Charlie Yieldings in my life
they
that are just waiting.
They know what you're about.
That's
but
right.
Let me ask you this then. You don't mind flexing your knowledge, though, because it's just like I'm the source of record on this one.
And I also like to plan people's vacations. So I'm all of those things, but there's many a times where it'll be like, we're about ready to do something. It's like, yeah, but there is a 50% chance. And, I don't know if I really want to go to that outdoor concert tonight, or I'm already looking at weather for 2 weeks from now. Mm-hmm. Because there's a big event outside that I have to be part of. And I'm like, so I'll literally be looking every day. And so there's a couple of my friends that'll be like, what's the weather like? And I'm like, yeah, in 12 days, it's going to be this. They already know that about me.
So I have people like you in my life that sort me out.
That is a guilty pleasure. I have Carrot on my watch. I have it as a widget on my phone. And I even have the app downloaded to my computer. It is probably my favorite. I cherish day one for obvious reasons, but Carrot Weather to me is my favorite one. So you're going to be fun again,
Yes.
Shauna, right? This is a great one. I can't wait. I've never heard of this, but go ahead.
So if you Wordle took on a life of its own, during COVID, and everybody was playing, and I'm not necessarily the best Scrabble player or word, but this Nerdle, Nerdle, so Nerdle instead of Wordle is basically the same concept. If you've got 5 chances to try to guess what it is, only it's math.
I don't know what Wordle is.
So Wordle is basically you get you have to guess what the word of the day is.
Okay.
And you get 5 chances. And
Just no hangman style rules?
Nope. It'll tell you yes, that letter's in it. No, that's not. Or yes, this is the correct spot.
How do you not know Wordle?
Well, so there's a concept of I just got too afraid of asking because I was supposed to know it, but now that I can't, everybody will know if I try to say something at this point. So it's just a game online, because during the pandemic I saw everybody every day was posting their Wordle stuff, and I was like, I don't know what those blocks mean.
It's how many tries it took you to get to the answer.
Okay.
And so it'll continually narrow it down, where it'll say, okay, that letter is in the word, but it is not in that spot.
Okay.
And so then you kind of deductively you go, okay, this is
So
what the word
I
is.
know a girl one time who was talking about she had all greens and it was a big deal. Like this
On the first try?
So that's what it
So
seems
they
like.
guessed the
She
word on the
guessed the
first
word.
try.
Okay, and that is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's of all the words, I guess.
It'd be like saying, I'm thinking of a 5-letter word, pick it. And you have to pick what's in my mind right now. And that's basically Wordle.
Oh, okay.
And then if you were to guess grain is the word, and I say, you're wrong, but you did get the G correct in the first spot.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
My papa did that one time with rhinoceros on Wheel of Fortune, and I was there to see it, and he remembered that for the rest of his life. So I can see how that's probably a pretty big deal.
That's a big deal.
So Nerdle is the same concept as far as giving you 5 tries, but you're trying to solve a mathematical equation. So you can only use each number once, or it tells you what, So it's so if you really want to go hardcore Nerdle, you can share it with your friends, same concept.
Can you build up, or is it just like everybody does the same thing?
It's everybody does the same thing. You can only play it once a day. And so that's kind of where the camaraderie came around.
Okay.
Is like you and I both play, and I got it in 3 tries, and it took you 2, or,
that's probably not likely.
And as supposedly the data guy here, I've tried Nerdle in the past, and it was so intimidating because to get started, it's hard to figure out what the heck you're supposed to do. So afterwards, can you please show me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is very challenging, and that's what I like about it, because when I get it right, I'm like, yes.
Okay. Well, so that seems like an app that's, if Wordle was big, then Nerdle could be big. And if there's one thing that East Nashvillians, which I am, it's being hipsters with stuff.
That is what East Nashville is definitely like, which is why I think you're all cute and adorable here. But we will keep moving on. I like this. So we've got 2 apps, and we're going to go with 1 device each. And because I really want to hear Shauna's, because I think I'm going to buy this one. But do we keep going in the same order, or we'll end with Shauna's again? So Charlie, why don't you go with? I'll tell you what. Let me go first because I've got mine, and it might be one of yours. So you've got a couple of them on here, but I'm going to go with devices. So now what we're talking about is the use of data in a device that you would recommend. And the one that I'm going to recommend is called Eufy. And Eufy is EUFY. And the reason I like it is what I use for my camera at my front door. I use it for my lock with, it has one where you can use your fingerprint, or you can do a code. And of course, your phone can unlock it from a ways away as well through a Wi-Fi connection. It also has cameras, and they go on just like all the other ones do. But what makes Eufy different than any of the others like Ring or something that Google would have is that the data, you can choose where the data lives. It can be on the cloud, or it can live on the device only. Yeah, and that's what I like about it the most. So Eufy is one of those where if you put an SD card in the device, then the data lives directly on the device for however much storage is on there. But you still can see it live. You can still see events. So like my wife and I, our family, we have a camera at our front door. So if somebody comes to our yard at 3 a.m. And maybe they just walk through it or something like that, we will get an alert tomorrow morning or the next morning, and we'll be able to see that video of that person. It's really good, crystal clear video that we use. So it is our opportunity to be able to see what happens in our front yard. But then we have the door lock that is, again, code, either a number type of thing. I can't figure out. I can't say number pad. Why can't I just say that? Keypad. There you go. Keypad. Jeez. You can tell how much I love Eufy here. But we use the thumbprint most of the time. But then if you have your kids coming home and they forgot the code, you can still let them in. Or if you have to let somebody else in, you can do it right from your phone. And you can see them, obviously, through the camera as well. But most important, what I like about Eufy the most is that the data lives on the device.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So I'll go next then.
Okay.
And so I did have home automation as one of the things I want to talk about. I was going to talk about, like you alluded to, but I think instead, since we're in the mode of like fun stuff, I'm gonna go for smart glasses.
You're going to Google glasses?
Smart sunglasses. Well, so Google Glass back in the day was a pretty neat thing. It was really expensive, and it was kind of first of its kind. It had a little heads-up display thing. It had a camera. But I had a buddy that works in the industry that used to wear those things around the house, and he said that they were the best for capturing like little moments, like where, because your kid's doing something, and you're like, oh, let me get my phone out, and by the time you get it out, it's like must be the motion towards the pocket or something like that, and the kids are like, I'm going to immediately stop doing whatever was cute and look at you, or the moment's gone. And so he used to just hit a button, and it would take the picture, and he could capture really candid moments. Now, the camera on the Google Glass back in the day was not that great, and so he's got a lot of grainy pictures and whatnot. But the concept of not missing those moments was really intriguing to me. So I was at an event here in town that Ray-Ban was sponsoring, or Sunglass Hut was technically sponsoring.
Okay.
And they were handing out Ray-Bans. And I was in line and got up there, and they had some of these smart glasses. You could tell because they got little camera lenses in the top in the corners and whatnot. And I was like, man, it would be really cool if you guys were giving those away. And then they were just like, oh, we are. And I was like, give them to me right now. I was so excited about it. I went back and talked to several other people that were at the same event. I was like, you got to go change them out right now. You got to go get those smart glasses because the fidelity of the cameras in them is really good. And so it's like a little button up here on the top. You click it once, it records for 30 seconds flat. The memory's on the glasses, so you don't need your phone when you're doing it. And then if you hold it for 3 seconds, it takes a snapshot, and it's got microphones and speakers and everything in the frames. And so I can listen to, sometimes I'll walk down the street with them, because it's open ear. Like I can listen to a podcast or whatever and still hear traffic and whatnot. I'm not jamming anything in my ears. And so I really like that aspect of it. It's not the best audio quality, but it's good enough. It's good enough to get by. And the recordings, you're not really going to do anything at nighttime with these. But I went to the beach recently, and you never like I'm in the sand, like making sandcastles, and I'm just hitting the button and recording 30-second videos of like us playing and getting those moments that I really have not been able to get before. And I'm also wearing Ray-Bans, so they look cool. So that's
do they look cool? I mean,
well, so that you can see here, they don't really look different from normal Ray-Bans. Like
black.
The arms are a little thicker.
And what's the name, just so that if people wanted to Google?
They're just called smart glasses.
Smart glasses from Ray-Ban. Okay.
Yeah, they're
We'll definitely have a link in our show notes.
They've got them in different shapes and whatnot, but they're we'll have the link in there.
Okay.
But I was just able to capture stuff that I wouldn't have normally, and I really, really like that.
It sounds like you can both be in the moment and take pictures of the moment with your new glasses.
Yeah.
Like
I took
circling back there.
I had them on yesterday, and I took there's an air park here that's 2 runway strips that they've turned into a park, and my dog will chase the kids, and I'll wear my rollerblades, and she'll take off and run and pull me behind her chasing the kids. And I've got video of that going on because I just hit the button and I'm looking at my daughter's pedaling as fast as she can, but the dog's keeping up while she's pulling me. And it's just something I couldn't do before because I can't hold on to the dog and get my phone out and capture the shot while I'm living the moment. And so, to your point, yes.
Nice.
Oh, that's really cool. So it does have a Bluetooth connection to your phone, and so that's why you can listen to a podcast. And then is that how it downloads to your phone?
So you got to go into the app, and then so it's actually, like we've talked about this before, but it's a Meta partnership with Ray-Ban. And so I did download the app because that's how you get from the glasses to the phone. But I rejected all of the permissions in the app. And
Gotcha.
so I'll download the stuff from the app to my photo library, and so I don't use it. It wants you to post from the app and stuff like that, and it's a big no for me.
Gotcha. Well, that is pretty neat, especially like I even think about my dogs. I'm always like, oh, my dog looks so cute right now, and you get the phone and it's over because now they think he has food, know. And so if I just had the ability to capture it that way. That would be really cool. All right, so let's get to the third one.
Yeah, and mine is going to be the Aura Ring. And so
Aura Ring.
Yes.
Okay, that's OURA.
That is correct.
Okay.
So this is actually a device that my husband has, and he loves it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very, very happy with this product. He's had it for years. And basically it tracks sleep, tracks heart rate variability, all your data and stats come in there. But it looks like a wedding ring, and you just put it on, and he just wears it in lieu of his wedding ring. And so he sleeps with it. He's been very satisfied with this product. And so, price point is a lot cheaper than an actual wedding ring. So.
Yeah, I imagine so. I had to start wearing the groove rings and then I lost my groove ring and I haven't replaced anything.
What's a groove?
It's one of those rubber ones.
Oh,
because
gotcha.
Anything metal, I lose immediately. So it's not worth it.
Yeah, I've lost my ring. I was saying this to Shauna before. We bought it from Service Merchandise. So do you even know what Service Merchandise?
No, I have no idea.
See, it's an old school. It was the kind of place where you walked in and everything was a demo on the floor. And then when you wanted to buy something, you went and told them, and then it came down on a conveyor belt to you. I've
never seen anything like that.
It was Service Merchandise. It was a great story. So it had a little bit of, because there's no such thing as Service Merchandise anymore. So I had the Service Merchandise ring, which was really cheap, but I loved it and I lost it. And so I have a new one, but it's like less than a year old. So maybe my wife would not be mad if I replaced it with this. So in terms of battery life, is it pretty good?
Oh, I was going to ask that.
5 to 7 days before you have to charge it. And so it's it's very non-invasive. Some of the trackers and everything, you can go overboard with that, but it does everything that the larger ones do, only in a small compact device.
And because I love the idea of tracking sleep, but I'm not going to wear a watch to bed. And so is it pretty good on tracking sleep?
Very, very good. And it'll show, it's got like nice charts and graphs and things to show you and he looks at it and says, oh yeah, I was pretty stressed at that. That's why my sleep pattern's messed up, or, even to the point of, what we ate too late at night, or, things like that.
It sounds like we have the same kind of conversations.
Gotcha.
You get old, you start tracking things.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it. I'm looking at it on my screen here, and I see 4 different finishes. You know, it's got the normal stainless steel look, the gold look, the matte gray look. I don't know what
gunmetal.
Gunmetal. There you go. And then of course black. What would you be these days, Charlie? Which of those 4?
I go with gunmetal.
Gunmetal. Yeah, that has a good look to it, I have to admit. I'm really digging the way this thing is. I think. Oh, is there a subscription?
There's not a subscription. It's
All right. And so the app, you think, does do a pretty good job?
Yes, does a really good job.
And does it, I'm sorry, I'm grilling you here because I can
He's
tell
like, I'm going
really,
to get one of these. Like,
this is what it's like when Charlie Apikian wants to buy
be your
something.
first Christmas present you buy. It's
I
for
know. And where was I going with that? Oh, does it integrate with other apps or other data sources?
You know, that I am not sure, but I do know there's an API connection. So if you wanted to go nuts, I'm sure you could.
I'm assuming it would go to like the Apple Health thing. And you know,
yeah, it does connect
like
back to MyFitnessPal. And like, yeah, so it does like devices like that, as well as, you know, there's additional things that can, you know, like scales and things that can connect back to the MyFitnessPal. So you can have it all in one giant.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, Google and Apple both have their own version of that as well.
Yeah.
So like Google Health, and then it's Apple Fit is what they call it. I don't know.
It's health. It's health. It's a little bit. There's like 8 different things that Apple does, but in the end, it all can feed into their health app.
Yeah. Google's got a main app, or Google's got a main app like that too.
Gotcha. Well, I'm looking at it, and you even mentioned that they had really good customer service.
Yeah, they did. You know, we had I think this is the second one he's had, and the first one just stopped working, and the company replaced it immediately with the newest model and without question. So he was really excited about that. So you don't always get great customer service these days, so I like to call it out when you get it.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
Very, very good. Well, I think, first and foremost, I think everybody knows that we are not getting paid by any of these.
Well, no, I don't think they did, but they need to.
Yeah,
well, they do need to know. We should have said
It's
this
just
in the beginning.
opinion.
This is our opinion, and there is no. Which, by the way, we're not opposed to that.
No, definitely not. Like,
but
if somebody wanted to send me a ring to test out and then talk about it, I would probably do that.
Yes, I will keep my integrity, and I will only take 2 of those. No, but you know, this is all just 100% of our recommendations to you all, and I think we had 2 apps, we had 1 device each. All right, we're gonna pick a favorite, and I think we're getting close to time here. Now, here's the rules. Of course, the only rule is you can't pick your own. So you can pick any app. So that gives you 4 different apps to choose from and 2 different devices, and everybody has to kind of come up with their own. And I think I've got mine. Mine might be pretty obvious which one I'm choosing because I asked 18 questions about it.
Can we just go ahead and say that the ring wins?
Is that what you would pick?
I think so, because I literally am also thinking about getting it, because I was looking at rings yesterday because I was going to get a new groove ring, because if I never have to take it off, I'm fine. But with a metal ring, you inevitably, like if you're working out, you don't want to wear it because if you want to have a good time, search gloving your ring or gloving your ring finger. That's not a cool time. And metal rings will potentially do that, but those rubber rings are pretty good. But if I can just add, at one point in my life, I'm going to be wearing a Whoop on one wrist, my Apple iWatch Ultra on my other wrist, and then a Aura ring, and I'll just
and then you can compare all the data, and then you can really scrutinize who has the better.
It's
data.
redundancy, yeah.
Yeah.
Last question about the Aura before I give my my suggestion or winner for today. Is it bulky at all?
No, it looks just like a regular ring. I mean, you would never know the difference, and it's thin. I know some of its competitors are quite thick, and so this one looks just like a regular ring.
And I did notice that when I hit shop now, not saying that I'm going to, the first thing that comes up is choose your size, free sizing kit.
Yes.
So
I need that.
That is good. So I don't know my size. And so I would have to pick that out. All right. So I think it's obvious which one I am picking. So here's the good part. So Shauna wins.
Yeah.
Okay. But more importantly is who is better between the Charlies. And I think Shauna has no choice, but she has to go with one Charlie or the other here. And so why don't you just say which of mine you liked best?
No pressure.
Yes. What did you pick, Shauna?
I actually like the Mint, the financial app, because I feel like that's a huge gap in the education system. I feel like we teach kids we don't teach them personal finance nearly enough. And so I know I didn't learn it as a kid.
Same.
You know? And so I feel like that it's an important part that might be useful.
Shauna, you could be a weather nerd with me, and you choose Mint, the app, which I have tried before, and I just didn't like it. So if you want to choose again, I understand.
If you want to be wrong, you can choose.
Oh, well, I think overall today, easily the winner was Shauna. Obviously had by far the best. So maybe this becomes well, definitely, we know we're having Shauna back, so we might have to have more opportunities to take the distinction of best from today away from her. But more importantly, we decided to disqualify Mint as an app. And so it sounds like I won. No, and then Charlie, of course, gets second, which means I get, if you're not first, you're last. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I'm good with being last with my Carrot weather app, and day one as I'm journaling about how I took last today.
If it makes you feel any better, I am going to reach out to the two people I know that are like you, in that you're like part-time meteorologists and whatnot, and they'll probably get a kick out of it. And I'm sure there's a subsection of the population that will listen to this that will absolutely agree that that's the coolest app.
You should create a Slack channel and let them all just hash it out.
Oh, we do Discord here. Well, we will do Discord here.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for playing along today, Sean. It was so good to have you back for a second one.
It was great to be here.
This has obviously got to continue to be a recurring theme here. Charlie, as we head to the holidays, any sage advice from you? I didn't think so. Shauna, let's go to...
Yeah, my advice would just be live in the moment and hug your loved ones. You never know how many holidays you have left.
And take a picture with your new Ray-Bans.
Take a picture with your new Ray-Bans.
Now I can't say anything. It's too well done, Sean.
Oh, well, this was a lot of fun. I had a blast. I didn't spend too much money. It sounds like I just have a one-time purchase. A little bit on the pricey side, but compared to a normal ring, it's not.
It can be your second Christmas gift that you ever purchased.
I like it, and or maybe I have to hint it many a times to my wife, and then she'll tell me just to go buy it. But I like that idea a lot. And so we had 3 different types of gifts for you today. One was we explained cool data things to you. That was NFTs, a little bit on the AI, and then crowdsourcing. And did you already know that you were participating in crowdsourcing? And then we went right into some different apps that we all recommend, and then a couple of cool data devices. It sounds like the data devices were the hit for today. And with that, Charlie, anything to add?
No. Going into the new year, though, think about what data you can capture to improve your chances of making your New Year's resolution stick.
Ooh, that's really, really good advice. And that hit a little bit too close to home right there. So I think that's it for today. Thank you all for joining us on our holiday version of Data for All. I'm Charlie Apigian.
And I'm Charlie.
And until next time.